This is really, really powerful stuff. Now, just be aware of this. Be aware of the whole idea that at the end of the day, wealth is energy, wealth is invisible, it's all within us. We got to get it flowing. The more flow, the more affluence. Think about that, be thinking about that as we dive into the 7 wealth activators or the 7 gifts that give you everything. Because these are the core 7 channels you have to start getting the energy flowing in again. That will open up all the channels within you so that you're just a wide open channel for this abundant energy to flow. Now the 7 gifts are giving out, giving away, giving up, giving in, giving thanks, giving to yourself, and forgiving. Okay, so those are 7 gifts: giving out, giving away, giving up, giving in, giving thanks, giving to yourself, and forgiving. Now, you're also going to get a bonus ebook on the 7 gifts or the 7 wealth activators, so definitely check that out so that you have that. But these are the core channels you want to get open. Now, as you'll notice, they're not, only one of them is really about money. And that's another big important thing to understand, because this isn't about just making money. This is about generating a massive tidal wave of energy so that it's just flowing. And when you have that flow, you have that abundance. So the first one, giving out. This is about giving of your time, your talent, and your treasure. And these are areas where we often are waiting, again, for a condition to change. Well, I like to give of my time, maybe philanthropically or be of service or in some way, but I don't have a lot of time. So we wait to have more time, and what we've done is we put it outside of us. That channel starts to stagnate. We notice we have less and less time, and then we have an even deeper and deeper excuse for why we can't give our time. You see how this works? And then because we're caught in thinking what appears is what's the source, it becomes a downward failure pattern until we have less and less and less time, and a deeper and deeper pain and regret that we don't have enough time to do the thing we want, when all along the source and the capacity was within us, but we had to step forth and begin to give out of our time, regardless of what our schedule looks like, to find that way to get that flow going again. The next one is talent. We have these gifts, these talents, but we're waiting for the right situation, the right condition to give of our talents. Maybe you want to be a singer, but you don't have any gigs. Well, put a concert on for your cat. You know, before I was speaking in public, you know where I was speaking? In my underwear, in my bedroom, walking around talking to myself like a crazy person, giving speeches. I'd be on road trips with my family, and all of a sudden I would just lapse into giving a speech, and my wife would kind of wake up and look over at me and she'd be like, who are you talking to? You know, and I'm just wildly gesticulating and passionately proclaiming things, and you know, it started to become kind of a funny joke. You know, I'd be over there just like, you know, just my mouth's moving and I'm giving this speech. So I wasn't waiting. I was just doing it, man. I was just living it, stepping into it. You know, when my kids said, I want to grow up and be a wealthy person, and I said, oh great, go start a lemonade stand. Oh, I'm just gonna make 5 cents, 10 cents, a buck, a few bucks. And they're like, I want to make millions. And I'm like, start a lemonade stand. Start where you are. Give of your gifts and talents where you are, and you start the flow. I remember one kid that did that with the lemonade stand, and pretty soon it was a successful stand, and he actually franchised his lemonade stand. He began to find kids around the neighborhood and create more lemonade stands, and now he had a bunch of lemonade stands and all these kids working for him. He's taking a piece of it all. I mean, it's like, wow, that kid understood flow, right? So you can start where you are and begin to find a way to give of that talent, to give it out, to give out your time, to give out your talent, and then your treasure. So this means like tithing, which is a way of giving back to your source of inspiration. It means 10 in the biblical sense. 10% of your revenue, whatever comes in, it doesn't belong to you, it belongs to God, to the universe, whatever. Give it back to the source of your inspiration. You can also be philanthropic and give it, the purest sense, tithing means to give back to your source of inspiration. Some people give to charitable causes as well. It works in terms of giving of your treasure. But what stops us is we think, I want to be philanthropic, I want to give more, but I can barely handle my bills. And it's like that story. And by the way, when I say God or Jesus or Buddha or spiritual stuff, this is not religious dogma, doctrine. Religion comes from a Latin term, religios, that means to bind you back to the source, like ligament. So this is just spiritual principle, perennial truth teachings. This is not religiosity, just for those that might be recovering Catholics or something. But there was a moment where Jesus and his disciples are looking in the place and they're giving of their alms, they're giving of their tithes to the church. And one guy's all pious and makes sure everybody sees what he's doing and gives a bunch. And an old lady very quietly and very sincerely gives just a couple pennies. And Jesus says, who do you think just gave more? So it's not that you got to give a lot. The universe knows quality and consciousness, not quantity. So when you just give a little, you start the flow. And it starts to expand. It turns on the inner pump, the inner wealth machine. It starts circulating. And then you have a little bit more to give. Because the universe goes, ooh, we found a channel that's willing to circulate, to let me put the universe on display. Let's channel more there. And it starts to open and stretch, and more comes out. So it doesn't matter how little you start, quote unquote. It matters that you start. So that's giving out. The next one is giving away. This one is about all the clutter and the things you have in your car, your house, your trunk, your drawers, the junk drawer. It's like, why do we have a junk drawer? Isn't that just a trash can? Isn't that just a horizontal trash can? But anyways, I digress. But basically it's about looking at all those places where you're holding on to stuff, that stack of magazines you're never gonna read. I'm here to tell you, if nobody else has told you, you're not going to read them. You need to let them move out, or all those stuffed animals you're still holding on in a box somewhere to somehow keep a piece of your childhood, or those clothes that have been hanging in your closet for, 2 years or more. You're not going to wear them, okay? So all this stuff, remember the idea about energy. I told you to keep this in mind. All of this is energy. And all of these things you're holding on to, filling in drawers and cupboards and cars and boxes and all of that, and it's got a story to it. It's got an emotional piece of content stuck under it. It's all stuck energy. And it's blocking the flow for the new to come in. And when you start to give it away, circulate it again, one man's trash is another man's treasure. When you start to give it away, circulate it, sell it, put it on eBay, whatever the case is, clear out the clutter, create space in your life again. That book, The Magic Art of Tidying Up, that was a big phenomenon. One of the things she says in there is the art or the act of clearing out all the clutter has an almost mystical, magical reaction or response that can totally change your life. And I'm just paraphrasing. But when I saw that, I was like, yep, that's what I teach in Awaken Wealth. It's all stuck energy and it's not flowing. So you want to move everything out that you don't really need, you don't really use, and you're never really going to. And leave the space now for that which is meant to be to flow in. And even if nothing seems to flow in, you've got that channel open and the energy is starting to flow and circulate. The swamp is clearing up. And it will show up in ways that you can't even imagine. The next gift is giving up. So this is about all the clutter we have in the drawers and the closets and the compartments of our own consciousness. These are those patterns like gossiping and complaining, those pet peeves. That pet peeve is something you love to hate. And you just love to talk about how much you hate it. That's like you're holding on to this, the judgments, the comparisons, the opinions, even preferences. Now this is advanced training, folks. Don't try this alone. But basically, it's any idea of what should or shouldn't be is a preference, is a judgment, and ultimately does become a block to your greater unfoldment. But there's some very core chronic complaints, judgments, gossip, opinions, pet peeves that are like filling up the closets and the cupboards of your mind. And they're creating stagnation in the flow of this particular channel. And so when you begin to release this, one at a time, don't do too many at once or you'll go crazy. So one at a time, you might take, release an opinion every day, or a few a week. But as you start to let these go, in their place, inspired thinking and vision starts to flow, which is just thought energy. And as that circulates, you become available to the larger life that's trying to emerge through you. Are you getting this? Are you like, whoa, this is cool. I'm gonna start cleaning out my closet. Don't do it right now. Stick with me. You can go do it later. But this is powerful stuff, folks. And some of it you might be thinking, well, that's kind of silly. What does it have to do with anything? Hopefully you're seeing the picture. It's all about energy. It's all about energy flow. You ultimately want to become a wide open channel where the energy is rushing out of you, unhindered, unobstructed, and then it manifests as all the abundance and all your needs met in often mystical, magical ways. The next one is giving in. So this is about understanding that there's always a larger life trying to emerge through you. You've activated it somewhere along the line, and it's bumping into those places, those old habits, those old identities, those old concepts of who you are and why you're alive. And you're like the acorn, if it had self-consciousness. It looks out at a field of oak, it yearns for a bigger life, it doesn't know why, it's attracted to that. And suddenly the oak is activated within it. And as it starts to emerge, it pushes up against the shell and creates pressure, and the shell starts to crack. And if it had self-consciousness, it was on a spiritual path, that acorn would probably call in a healer to try to do Reiki on its shell or something. And you got to heal my shell. It's falling apart, man. This is my life. This is who I am. This is what protects me. And if it succeeded, it would thwart its destiny and just become the best nut in the forest, maybe, or get eaten by a squirrel. But there's a larger life. Thankfully, the acorn yields to it, and that protective shell cracks, it falls away, and the larger life emerges. So there's a larger life of wealth and abundance and all of that unfolding in your life. But in many places, you're activating and praying for more wealth and abundance, but you're still holding on to habits and ways of being and doing, conversations that are talking about how there's not enough jobs or how bad the economy is. Or you go to the store and you want to buy those apples because they're organic and not covered in pesticide, but you think, oh, I can't afford it. It's like $1 a pound more, man. And so you're holding on to this old limited perception, pattern, habit, and it's creating a tremendous amount of resistance against what's trying to emerge. So in this gift, it's about surrendering to what's emerging. It's not about acquiescing to the situation. It's about yielding to the oak. It's about knowing there's a larger vision here. What is the larger vision? And beginning to lean into it and allow it and let it crack away the parts you no longer need. You have to give in. Again, and surrender comes sometimes as a 4-letter word for people. They feel like they're giving up. But you're allowing. You're not surrendering again to the circumstance. You're surrendering to what's emerging. That's the key distinction. And then there's giving thanks. Giving thanks, we heard about this, but this is so powerful because the attitude of gratitude is the evidence that the gift has already been given. If you live in a state of gratitude long enough, the universe starts giving you more and more things to be thankful for. Now, it looks like those things are making us grateful. That's where we get lost. Again, that's the outside in. The inside out is realizing that our state of gratitude circulates that energy, that flow that manifests itself according to our perfect pattern and plan as things that we feel resonant with and grateful for. It's not coming from out there. The gratitude can only come from in here. So the journey of gratitude looks something like this. We start off, we're not grateful for anything, right? I wake up some days feeling like that. And then we work a little bit and we find something to be grateful for. Just something. The wind on our face, the sun on our skin, the look of our child, that we're healthy, whatever. And as we keep working this, we're now looking to be grateful for everything. Even and especially the things that we don't like, the things that look bad. It's all just energy, even if it's stuck in certain forms, but that energy is good. And so we begin to bless everything. We begin to give thanks for everything. We begin to realize and remember everything is conspiring to circulate more energy and manifest more abundance in our life. So just like a forest fire is needed to cause a jack pine to crack open its seeds and flourish, and certain plants need really hard soil to activate their enzymes and grow thick, healthy bark, certain challenges and problems are happening to create the conditions for us to grow stronger, to expand our channels. So we learn to give thanks for all of it, okay? So you start off with nothing to be grateful for, you learn to be grateful for something, you practice till you're grateful for everything, and then ultimately you find that you're grateful for nothing, meaning you're just a state of gratitude. It's not attached to an object. And that's the master path. That's when things really start flowing. Then we get to another one. We're getting near the end of these, but this is a very, very important one for you heart-centered, spiritually minded people. And that is giving to yourself. Take a breath. Like the old saying, when the oxygen mask falls down in the plane, you got to put the oxygen mask on yourself first and then the child. And a lot of us do-gooders, caretakers, good-hearted people, we're constantly trying to take care of everybody else. We're constantly trying to say yes to everybody else's yes, and we're not filling ourselves up first, and we're running on empty. And we feel burned out, overwhelmed, resentful, angry, and then we repress the anger, and we become addicted, and we eat over it, and we work over it, and all of that. Sound a little familiar? Because we suffer from this shadow of feeling like it's selfish to give to yourself. It's selfish to take care of yourself. It's selfish to want what you want and to have what you need. We've been conditioned that way, and it's completely false. Check it out. The law of circulation states thus: you cannot give what you don't have. So you have to have it to really give it. Now we can fool that ourselves because we can have the experience of giving and giving and giving, but when we're doing it from not having, we are depleting our energy. We are ultimately pulling it from the very cells of our body. We ultimately, like I said, activate anger, resentment, burnout, overwhelm, and we project it on the other person, and they feel blamed, and it never really was their fault because we're the ones doing it. And then, it just becomes more and more breakdowns, until hopefully we have that breakthrough. But the truth is, you cannot give what you don't have. That's the first part of circulation. Then you cannot keep what you don't give. Now you got to circulate it. Then you finally cannot sustain what you don't receive. It's one cycle, one circuit, as in energy, like one breath. Got to breathe in, got to breathe out, got to breathe in again. If you just breathe out, 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 I'm just a giving, loving person, breathe out, breathe out, breathe out, you're going to die, right? And maybe you feel like you've died a little bit inside because you're in those kind of relationships. And if you just breathe in, breathe in, breathe in, you're going to die. So you have to have this flow, this circulation. You have to fill yourself up. And the key here is whatever you're trying to get from anyone or waiting from anyone, you have to start to give it to yourself. Like if you're waiting for love and respect, you ask yourself, if I loved and respected myself, how would I treat myself? If I loved and respected myself, how would I show up today or in this relationship or at this job? Not, well, I'll show up when they show me some respect. If they love me, I'll love them back. No, because guess what? All the love and respect and everything you're withholding from them, you're withholding from yourself. And so you have to first fill yourself up with whatever you're trying to get, then you start to circulate it. So if you want, let's say, more love and respect from your boss or from your spouse or your kids, you have to actually start giving that to yourself. It's not going to come from them. It never did, it never will. It has to be generated and activated within you. So you have to ask yourself, if I loved and respected myself, how would I treat myself? How would I show up in that relationship or in that job? If I really loved, and whatever the quality is, if I really valued, if I really validated myself, if I really knew I was beautiful and talented, whatever you're trying to get or wait for some kind of acknowledgement, how would I show up? How would I hold myself? How would I treat myself? And you start to, it'll lead to new conversations. It'll lead to you doing less of some things. You starting to say no to their yes and yes to your yes. How would you like to start saying yes to your yes? How would you like to have the confidence and the power to know that you can say yes to your yes and all of your needs will be taken care of and you'll have more left over to share and to spare and to serve and to circulate? But if you don't fill yourself, if you don't give everything to you that you want, then you won't have it to give to others. And you also won't have it for yourself. So it's ironic because it's not selfish to fill yourself up and take care of yourself. It's profoundly selfish to not. Because then you're burning yourself out. You're cutting open the golden goose to give away all the gold and you kill the goose. So it's profoundly selfish to not take care of yourself, to not give to yourself. Now, just take a breath because I know, having worked with so many people around the world, this is a really powerful wound for a lot of people. They don't know how to take care of themselves. They don't know how to love themselves and serve and fill themselves up. It's one of the reasons why you're struggling, suffering, lacking, because you're literally running on fumes. Or it's like trying to float a boat with a big leak in it. and you're sinking. I know what that's like. I was Mr. Nice Guy for a long time. And it's really true, nice guys finish last when it's nice guys. But when you're filling yourself up and taking care of yourself, you have something real to give. So I promise you, as you learn this and practice this, you're not going to become selfish, even though some people might try to initially tempt you to believe that and push back because suddenly you're not, waiting on them hand and foot. But as you hold your place in this, and I'm going to talk to you in the 4th video about how to do that permanently and put it on autopilot, your life flourishes for you and for everyone involved. And then we get to forgiving. And I could do a whole talk on this alone, but I want to talk just briefly about why this is so important, because we don't really understand forgiveness. There's many layers to it that's beyond the scope of this. But in terms of energetic, when you are, look at the very word, forgiving. You're not forgetting, you're not fortaking, you're forgiving. You are giving, you are generating, you are circulating. When you're unforgiving of yourself or someone else, you're essentially saying, I owe you or you owe me. And you end up with debt, energetic debt. Really, unforgiveness is one of the most powerful ways to turn your life into a swamp. It's one of the most powerful ways to stagnate the energy flow. And that's why oftentimes debt is a sign of a story of unforgiveness. And when you start to release that and start to unlock and unleash that prison you put yourself in or someone else in, and you start to generate and be giving, forgiving, now you start to circulate again. And a lot of times that heals your heart, it heals the relationship. And even if it doesn't change the other person, it's really for your sake. It's like the old saying, being unforgiving of somebody and resenting is like drinking poison and thinking it's going to hurt them. And it just makes you sick or kills you. Same thing with unforgiveness. You're blocking your flow. Remember, anywhere you're not willing to express the quality, whether it's love, generosity, kindness, compassion, caring, forgive, that is literally, to that extent, you are blocking that energy and quality from coming into your life. Remember, life doesn't happen to you, it happens through you, from you. So when you block that channel, I'm gonna give as good as I get. I'm not gonna be nice and loving and kind over there. You think you're doing something to them? You've just closed the sluice gate on that channel, and the water starts to stack up and stagnate, and you're turning your life into a swamp. But when you're willing to just love, you want to love the way the sun shines. It's unconditional. People can curse the sun, close their blinds, put on sunblock. The sun doesn't go, oh, well, then the heck with you. I'm not going to shine on you. It's like in the Bible where it says, he shines his light on the just and the unjust, the saint and the sinner. God is no respecter of persons, but a respecter of principle. So again, it's all about becoming an unconditional channel of flow. So when you love and you radiate, you circulate unconditionally, not trying to get anything from anyone. If they don't receive it, that's up to them. You are generating this flow for your life and for everybody that's a part of your life. So being forgiving is one of the most powerful ways to open up the channels and get this energy. It's the ultimate debt reduction plan, is being forgiving. So those are the 7 gifts in a nutshell, or in an acorn shell.